Hi everyone, I'm Miss Lydia from the Boston Library. Thank you for joining me for Craft Friday. Today we are making snow slime. So this is a really fun project. I've got two different recipes that I'm going to share with you. It does get a little bit messy, but it is also really fun. So we're going to start with a glitter slime. And what you need for this is you're going to need a half a cup of water, and you're going to divide it into two different containers. So I have a quarter of a cup here and a quarter of a cup here. Then I'm going to add to one of those containers, I'm going to add a quarter of a cup of clear glue. So I'm taking my clear glue here, measuring out a quarter of a cup, and I'm going to dump that right into my quarter of a cup of water here. And then I'm going to mix that together. So I'm going to stir that up as best I can to mix that glue and water. The temperature of the water that you're mixing with the glue doesn't matter that much, but for this next step, you do want your water to be warm. So I have another quarter of a cup of warm water here, and I'm going to mix in 1/8 of a teaspoon of borax. So just have some borax here. We're just going to mix in that 1/8 of a teaspoon, and then I'm going to stir that very carefully. So you want to make sure that you stir this until it's completely dissolved in the water. It can take a little bit longer than you think to get this fully dissolved. Just keep stirring it. It will dissolve completely if you keep at it. And you do want this part to be very carefully stirred before you mix it in. It will help with the consistency in the next step. Once I have the borax completely dissolved, then I'm going to take that and I'm going to slowly mix it into my glue and water mixture here. And I'm going to stir that. And pretty quickly you'll start to see that it starts to form a slime. And you want to keep stirring that until it comes away from the sides entirely. All of your liquid is incorporated. At this time you can add food coloring or you can add glitter if you want. If you're using glitter, make sure you're using a fine glitter. Anything with bigger chunks in it, it ends up not mixing in all that well. And at just about any point in this, you can just start mixing it with your hands too. It'll start out pretty sticky, but the more you mix it, the more it will come together. Once you keep mixing it together, you'll end up with something that looks like this. So you can see it kind of looks like ice. It's quite stretchy. It will break. You can also form it into a ball. It bounces. You don't want to let it sit on anything for very long, because if you let it sit on a countertop or anything, it does start to melt and it will leave a mark there. But it does have quite a good bounce to it. You can also make snowmen out of it if you work fairly quickly. You can make little snowmen, and then you can watch them melt too. So if you can roll those balls pretty quickly, you can make a snowman. And then he'll just slowly melt just like a regular snowman would in the sun. You don't have to add too much glitter into it either to get it quite shiny and ice-like. You can make the same recipe with regular white glue as well. It just obviously won't be see-through at that point. You'll get the same consistency though. And once you have it fully mixed too, it's nice because it doesn't stick to your hands as long as you keep it moving. If you let it sit in your hands too long, some of that liquid will separate out and it'll leave a little bit of moisture behind, but no glue, which is nice. You can store this in an airtight container. It will last for a little while. Eventually it will start to liquefy again, and you'll notice that it has a completely different consistency. You can't get it to congeal again, but it still will last for a little bit, and it is really fun to play with. Our second slime recipe also involves using borax, warm water, and glue, but for this one we're also going to need some shaving cream. So I'm going to start with my borax mixture. I have a half a cup of warm water here, and I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of borax to that. And then I'm going to again stir that very carefully, get it fully dissolved. Once that's fully dissolved, I'm going to set that aside. Then you can use either the clear glue that you used on the last recipe or regular white Elmer's glue. Either one will work just fine. And I'm going to take a quarter cup of that. and I'm going to put that in my mixing bowl. Then I'm going to take my shaving cream. So the amount here doesn't matter a whole lot. The more you add, the fluffier your slime is going to be. I'm adding about a cup to start, and then I'm going to mix that shaving cream in with the glue a little bit here. So I'm going to stir that together. And then I'm going to take my borax, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that at a time. And you'll see it starts to come together pretty quickly there. And then you can add a little bit more if you want it to be more solid. And then at some point you're probably going to have to take your hands and use those to mix it. What you end up with after you've mixed it is a very fluffy and springy slime. Ideally, at this point, it's not sticky either. If you let it sit on something for too long, it will stick to it. But if you keep it moving, it stays very fluffy. You can, of course, add food coloring to this. I would add it when you have your glue in your mixing bowl, so before you've added your shaving cream. I like it white because it looks more like snow that way. This can be stored in an airtight container as well for quite a while. Again, eventually it will start to break down a little bit, but you still have probably months in an airtight container. It will stick to surfaces, so don't let it get into the carpet or on your clothes or on upholstery. Anything else, it's usually pretty easy to clean off. And same thing with this one, you can create those melting snowmen. This one is a little bit more solid, so you have a tiny bit more time to work with it too. And then you can watch them just melt. This recipe did not take very much of the borax water mixture, only probably about 1/8 of a cup. But it depends on how much shaving cream you've added, how much glue you're using. So you can just kind of add that, keep stirring it, keep working it until you get the consistency that you want. There are, of course, recipes for slime that do not involve using borax. However, I tried 3 different recipes for this shaving cream foam slime, and all 3 of them, the ones with cornstarch, baking soda, and contact solution, they all stayed extremely sticky. I was not able to get them to this consistency. So if you're going to make it, I would recommend using the borax. Here we have our 2 snow slime recipes. We have our shaving cream fluffy slime and our ice-like glitter slime. I'll post both recipes below in the comments section. If you have any questions, please let us know, and we hope you have fun making slime.